quite a man. And this whole farm and the Waldorf School, biodynamic farming, is all based on the theories that he had during his very early career back in 1924. And he was in his early 20s, mid-20s when all of this was happening. So just to give you an idea of how brilliant a being he was. So across the street from the farm, we're divided by this road, is Hawthorn Valley School. And it kind of begins there because when Rudolf Steiner developed Waldorf education, he came to the belief that a person is actually three things: a mind, a body, and a spirit. And that when we're teaching children, and it's very rare that you'll actually hear Waldorf say we're teaching children, it's more like we're guiding children. That when you guide a child to be an adult who wants to go out into the world and not only be a part of it, but to really grab from the world knowledge, at each year of their schooling, you have to address mind, body, and spirit always. So the curriculum in a Waldorf school is very art intensive, music intensive, as well as subject intensive. But that subjects are introduced not just in reading and writing, but that when they're learning science, when they're learning reading, that there is a complementary music exercise, art exercise, and movement exercise that balances that curriculum. And that's how he basically came up with, if we do that, we will be addressing the mind, the body, and the spirit of this developing being. So it's a threefold thing. In third grade, or when a child reaches the age of 9, they actually go through what he called the 9-year change. And it's the first time that a child actually encounters within themselves a will, this will to step away from the parents and go, wait a minute, I've got my own ideas and my own, you're not exactly me. And so Rudolf Steiner believed that the best way for a child to work with that feeling that would be coming up at that time would be to have a farm experience and to work with the earth, that the earth was the medium that would best express that will force coming in a healthy way. So the first Waldorf school in the Northeast is down in Manhattan, and they didn't have a farm.
Yeah.
So when their children were going to come into third grade and this 9-year change, they needed a farm. So they formed a committee to go out and search a nice commuting distance from New York City, a place where they can find a working farm in a small valley surrounded by mountains. And they found here. And so Hawthorn Valley Farm actually began from that impulse of wanting to give children the best education that they could have. That being said, the building right here, the visiting students program building, which it says the main house, this was the main house where those children from Manhattan were coming here and then having that farm experience. They would come up for a week or 2 weeks, depending on what they were doing, and live the rhythm of the farm. They would get involved in planting and harvesting and working with the animals. Everything that happens on the dairy farm today, they would be somewhat involved with that, even back then. And this was in the early 70s that this was happening. This program is still very much alive today, and it's gotten so popular that schools, and it would be either Waldorf schools or charter schools or another type of independent school, they come from as far south as Virginia, as far north as Buffalo, as far, west is Buffalo, north is Maine. We get students as far as that, and as east is Cape Cod. And so from the beginning of the school year in September, right through until until June, every week we have a new busload of kids that come from the school for exactly the same reason, to express that willfulness, with the medium being the earth. In addition, Waldorf education, when a child gets into the high school, I think it's ninth grade, they have to come, well no, maybe 10th, they come and do a practicum on the farm. But at that time, the object is a little bit different, right? Because now they're thinking in a completely different way. And when they come to do their practicum, it's more like, not how am I going to express this will force, but how can I play a role with this as something I might want to do out in the world. And so the children at that time, the high school students, actually pick a department to go work in. So when you take your tour today, just kind of keep a perspective that what began as a young visiting students program has now grown into including helping high school students to make a decision about whether or not they want agriculture or food to be a part of what they do when they get out into the world. And so that's the beginning of what that is.